Camera number 21 of 365 is the Canon EOS 10. Now, the Canon EOS 10 requires a 2CR5 battery to power all its operations. So there we have the battery, and the battery is inserted in the base of the camera by lifting the door and placing the battery terminal down and locking the door. So looking at the front of the camera, we have the lens release button, which allows our EF mount lens to be taken off. And then just looking at the front, there is a sensor for infrared, remote control, and a self-timer button. And then this interesting little button here, perhaps we'll come back onto that, we'll leave that for a moment. So let's just put the lens back on and turn our attention to the top of the camera. Just going through the dial here on the left, which controls our creative modes and various other modes that we have. The lock button is released by pressing the button in the middle and then just simply rotating. We have program mode, shutter priority mode, aperture priority mode, depth of focus or field mode, which allows us to choose up to 3 points in a particular image, and we set it up so that there are these 3 markers, and the camera will then keep everything nicely in focus between those 2 or 3 points. Perhaps unnecessary mode, camera shake mode. The camera will choose higher shutter to allow us to take our photograph, and then a very welcome manual mode, which we have to use various dials and to set the shutter, the aperture and the shutter speed. Going back the other way, we have auto mode, where the camera becomes basically a point and shoot, and then we have portrait mode, landscape mode, macro mode and sports mode, and a barcode reader mode. And now that's an interesting mode, and it all is in connection, or has connection with this little port here, which allows us basically to input particular camera settings, aperture, shutter speed, for a particular purpose. And the way we do that is by using a barcode reader, which we'll now go and get. So here is our EOS photo files and barcode reader, and the idea is that we flick through the book, which has various different types of situations that we might find ourselves in, and if we find one that we're particularly interested in, landscapes there, weddings. So let's try the wedding. So we're at a wedding. We want to maximize our camera to produce the best possible image. So the idea is that we scan the barcode and then input that into the camera, and the camera is then set up to maximize that situation. So the book does say it takes practice. So let's see how well we get on. The idea is we start from that point and we work not too fast. No. You can probably see why. There we go. So the camera is, you can see why now, perhaps this was done away with. So the idea is now that the camera can be set up for that situation by placing the barcode reader and transferring that information, hopefully, into the camera. I think we've got programs, so we need barcode. That's why it won't work. There we go. So barcode reader. There we go. You can see it flashing there. And P12, and indeed this is P12. So the camera is now set up for us to take weddings, and we can rest assured that the camera will do the best possible job because all the settings are there. So just turning to back to the top, we've done all those modes. We've got a flash button, and then over the other side we have a button to allow us to choose from self-timer or remote control. We have the dial that allows us to choose various functions, which we'll just mention in a minute. Just moving down and to the back of the camera, a partial metering mode, and a button that allows us to choose our focus point. And then coming down we have a mid-roll button and then a function button. Let's just see if we can cycle through those to change our mode. So holding the blue function button, we can choose from single or continuous shooting mode. Then we go through ISO, which we can choose manually, and pressing the button again. Multiple exposure, up to 9 exposures in one frame. Press the button again. Auto exposure, bracketing. We slip through there, sorry. Intervalometer, and whether or not to have beeps when we press any button. Autofocus mode, we can choose one shot or AI servo, and then exposure compensation button, which again we use with the dial. If we press both the function and the autofocus mode, we now move into the area of custom functions, and there's about 14 different functions we can set up in the camera. There are so many. I've only actually found myself using one, and that's number 2, I believe, which allows the film not to be rewound straight into the cartridge. It leaves a tail out. So we'll now test whether that function is set up correctly, and we'll do that by hopefully putting some film in the camera. The film catch or film chamber latch is slid down, and then we just simply put the film in, making sure that the film leader goes up to this little red mark here, and then hopefully we're in business. So we'll just stick it into manual mode so that we can just rattle off some frames. Let's make it manual focus, there we go. So, question time. Has the camera done the job I asked it to do? Yes, it has. It's left the film leader out. Excellent. Very good. Okay, so that really is just a brief overview of camera number 21 of 365, the Canon EOS 10.